The alarm screamed across 17 star systems at the same time. Red lights flashed in every monitoring station from the outer rim to the galactic core. Emergency protocols that had been sleeping for 300 years suddenly woke up and started working. On the bridge of the galactic monitoring station, Commander Vex looked at his screen with 4 eyes wide open. The words he was reading made his tentacles shake with fear. 3 simple words in the human language had triggered the most powerful warning system in the galaxy. Hold my beer. Those words had just been spoken by a human named Jake Morrison, captain of the mining ship called New Texas. The ship was floating near an asteroid field in the Kepler sector, doing what humans called regular mining work. But the computer systems knew better. They knew what happened when humans said those 3 words. Vex pressed a button on his control panel. His voice went out to every space station, every planet, and every ship within 50 light years. This is Galactic Monitoring Station Alpha. We have a code Crimson situation. All ships and stations prepare for emergency protocols. The humans have said the words. He did not need to explain which words. Everyone in the galaxy knew about those 3 words. They were taught in schools across 1,000 worlds. Parents used them to scare children into being good. Eat your vegetables, or the humans might say the words near our planet. On the human ship New Texas, Jake Morrison stood in the engine room holding a bottle of beer. It was not real beer, but the fake kind that humans drank in space. His chief engineer, Katie Walsh, was looking at him with worry in her eyes. She had worked with Jake for 5 years. She knew that look on his face. It was the same look he got right before he did something that would either work perfectly or destroy everything around them. Sir, the alien miners have been working this asteroid field for 2 years, Katie said. They use proper equipment and follow all the safety rules. Maybe we should do the same thing. Jake took a sip of his fake beer and looked out the window at the asteroids floating in space. The alien miners had been working very slowly. They used small laser beams to carefully cut pieces of rock. It was safe and it was boring. Jake had been watching them for 3 days and he was getting tired of waiting. Katie, Jake said in a slow voice, I have an idea. Katie felt her heart start beating faster. She had heard Jake say those words before. The last time he said them, they had accidentally created a new type of engine fuel that was now used by half the ships in the galaxy. The time before that, he had fixed a broken space station by using nothing but duct tape and what he called creative thinking. What kind of idea, sir? Katie asked, even though she was not sure she wanted to know. Jake handed her his bottle of fake beer. Katie, hold my beer. The words went out over the ship's communication system. They were picked up by the computer that monitored all human speech for safety reasons. The computer had been built by the smartest aliens in the galaxy after they learned what humans were capable of doing. In less than 1 second, the words traveled through subspace to the Galactic Monitoring Station. In less than 2 seconds, they were being broadcast to every government, every military, and every insurance company in the known galaxy. Admiral Lisa Chen was eating lunch on Earth when her emergency communicator started making noise. She looked at the screen and saw 17 different alien species trying to call her at the same time. The messages were all the same. The humans have said the words, "We need help." Lisa put down her sandwich and pressed the button to answer all the calls. At once, her screen filled with the faces of aliens from across the galaxy. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. Some looked like they were already planning to run away. "Admiral Chen," said the Altarian ambassador, whose name was something humans could not pronounce. "We have detected the phrase. Which human said it and where are they located?" Lisa looked at her computer screen. The information was already there. Captain Jake Morrison, mining ship New Texas, Kepler sector. What exactly did he say it about? "We do not know yet," replied the Centauri trade representative. "But we are already moving all our ships out of the area. The insurance companies have canceled all policies within 50 light years." Lisa rubbed her forehead. This happened every few months. Some human somewhere would say those 3 words and the entire galaxy would panic. Most of the time, the human was just planning to fix something or try a new idea. But the aliens had learned to be very careful around human ideas. "I will send a ship to check on Captain Morrison," Lisa told the group of worried aliens. Please, try not to evacuate any planets until we know what he is planning to do. Back on the New Texas, Jake was looking at the mining laser controls. Katie was holding his beer and watching him with nervous eyes. The mining laser was a standard piece of equipment that was used to cut up asteroids. It was safe and reliable and very boring. I think we can make this work better, Jake said, touching buttons on the control panel. The aliens are being too careful. They are using the laser at very low power, but if we change the frequency and increase the power, we can cut through the asteroids much faster. Katie looked at the numbers on her screen. Sir, the safety manual says we should not change those settings. The laser could become unstable. Jake smiled the smile that had made Katie both rich and terrified during their years of working together. Katie, when has following the safety manual ever been fun? Sir, fun is not the goal here. Not exploding is the goal. We are not going to explode, Jake said, still touching buttons. I just want to see what happens if we tune the laser to match the natural frequency of the asteroid minerals. It is basic physics. Katie looked at her readings again. The numbers Jake was programming into the laser were not in any safety manual she had ever read. They were not in any manual at all. Jake was making them up as he went along. Sir, where did you get these frequency calculations? I did not calculate them, Jake said. I just have a feeling about them. My grandmother had a pie timer that made a sound just like the frequency I want to use. If it worked for her pies, it should work for Space Rocks. Katie realized she was holding Jake's beer so tightly that her knuckles were white. Sir, you want to tune our mining laser based on your grandmother's pie timer? Why not? It always made perfect pies. 50 light-years away, the emergency fleets of 12 different alien species were preparing for launch. They were not sure if they were going to help with a disaster or try to contain one. When humans said those 3 words, both options were usually necessary. The Zephyrian mining foreman working in the asteroid field near the New Texas had been monitoring human communications as part of his safety training. When his computer translated the phrase "hold my beer," he immediately sent an emergency message to his crew. All workers returned to the ship immediately. The humans have initiated a hold my beer scenario. We are moving to a safe distance of 50,000 kilometers. His crew did not ask questions. They had been trained for this. Every alien who worked near humans knew about the 3 words and what they meant. They dropped their tools and ran for their ships as fast as their various alien legs could carry them. Jake Morrison had no idea that his simple plan to improve their mining efficiency had triggered the largest peacetime military response in galactic history. He was focused on his control panel, humming the tune that his grandmother's pie timer used to make. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez was enjoying his first quiet day in 3 months when his emergency communicator started beeping. He was sitting in his research lab on the planet Nexus Prime, drinking coffee and reading reports about human behavior patterns. His work was important but usually not urgent. Humans did interesting things, but they rarely did them fast enough to interrupt his morning routine. Today was different. The beeping was the emergency signal that meant the Galactic Council needed him right now. Marcus put down his coffee and pressed the answer button. The face of Council Chairman Thex appeared on his screen. Thex was a Rigelian, which meant he had blue skin and 3 eyes. Right now, all 3 eyes looked very worried. Dr. Rodriguez, we need you at the emergency council meeting in 1 hour. The humans have said the words again. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Which words? The 3 words. A human named Jake Morrison said them 17 minutes ago. We need your expert opinion on what might happen next. Marcus had been studying human behavior for 20 years. He was the galaxy's leading expert on why humans did the things they did. More importantly, he was the only person who could predict what might happen when humans said those 3 dangerous words. 1 hour later, Marcus stood in front of the Galactic Council's emergency session. The huge chamber was filled with representatives from 47 different alien species. They were all looking at him with various types of eyes, hoping he could explain what the humans were about to do. Distinguished members of the council, Marcus began. I know you are all worried about the recent human incident. Let me explain why we should be concerned, but also why we should not panic. He pressed a button, and a large screen showed a list of dates and events. Every major incident involving humans in the past 50 years has started with the same 3 words. Let me tell you about some of these incidents. The council members shifted nervously in their seats. They had all heard stories about human incidents, but most had hoped the stories were not completely true. The Kepler station situation happened in 2384. Marcus continued. A human engineer named Danny Murphy was trying to fix a broken space station. The station was running out of power and would have been destroyed in a few hours. Danny looked at the problem and said to his assistant, "Hold my beer." He then spent the next 30 minutes connecting the station's quantum drive to the main power system. A Centauri representative raised one of his 4 hands. Did the station explode? No, but something more interesting happened. Danny accidentally created a stable wormhole that connected our galaxy to the Andromeda Galaxy. The wormhole is still there today. We use it for trade and scientific research. The council chamber was very quiet. Everyone knew about the Andromeda wormhole, but most people did not know it had been created by accident. The Great Asteroid Rodeo of 2387, Marcus continued. A human pilot named Casey Johnson was hired to move a large asteroid that was going to hit a space station. The asteroid was twice as big as anyone expected. Casey looked at it and said, "Hold my beer." She then used her ship's tractor beam to lasso the asteroid like it was a cow. "Did it work?" asked a Zephyrian delegate. "Better than anyone expected." Casey did not just move the asteroid. She discovered that asteroids could be controlled and guided using tractor beam techniques that no one had ever tried before. Her method is now used by mining companies across the galaxy. The asteroid rodeo became so popular that we now have professional asteroid rodeo competitions. Marcus clicked to the next item on his list. The quantum cookie catastrophe of 2389. A human baker named Amy Peterson was working on a space station restaurant. She wanted to make the perfect chocolate chip cookie, but the station's ovens were not working properly. She said to her assistant, "Hold my beer," and then decided to use the station's antimatter containment system as an oven. The chamber was so quiet that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Everyone knew about the quantum cookie catastrophe. It was taught in physics classes across the galaxy. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems, Marcus continued. But Amy's cookies were not destroyed. Instead, the antimatter reaction created a new type of quantum field that made the cookies exist in 17 different dimensions at the same time. When people ate them, they could taste flavors that had never existed before. An Altarian representative spoke up. Those cookies also solved the Hendrix paradox in theoretical physics. Exactly. Amy's accident advanced our understanding of quantum mechanics by about 200 years. The cleanup cost was enormous, but the scientific benefits were even greater. Marcus looked around the chamber. The council members were starting to look less worried and more interested. The Singing Comet incident of 2391. Human artist Billy Chen was disappointed that a comet passing near his colony was not making any sound. "Space is silent, so comets do not make noise," Billy said. "Hold my beer," and attached a series of harmonic resonators to the comet's tail. "What happened?" asked someone from the back of the chamber. The comet started singing, not just making noise but actually singing in harmony. The resonators turned the comet's ice crystals into a musical instrument that could be heard across subspace. The comet's song was so beautiful that it inspired a new form of art. We now have comet orchestras in 12 different star systems. Marcus clicked to his final example. The Great Navigation Error of 2393. Captain Sue Martinez was leading a supply convoy to a distant colony. Her navigation computer broke down and she got lost in a nebula. She said to her crew, "Hold my beer," and then navigated using only the patterns she could see in the nebula's gas clouds. Did she find her way out? She did more than that. Sue discovered that nebula gas patterns can be used as natural navigation markers. Her technique is now taught in every navigation school in the galaxy. The method she invented has prevented thousands of ships from getting lost. Marcus turned off his screen and looked at the council members. Do you see the pattern? Every time a human says those 3 words, something that seems impossible becomes possible. Yes, there is usually some chaos and expense involved, but the final result is always something that benefits everyone. Chairman Thex leaned forward. Dr. Rodriguez, what do you think this Jake Morrison is planning to do? I do not know exactly, but I can make some educated guesses. He is a mining ship captain working in an asteroid field. He probably sees a problem with current mining methods and thinks he can solve it. Based on past incidents, his solution will probably work, but not in the way anyone expects. A Zephyrian mining representative stood up. Should we evacuate the asteroid field? Marcus thought about this question. I recommend moving to a safe distance, but do not leave completely. You will want to watch what happens. If the pattern holds, Captain Morrison is about to invent something that will change mining forever. What kind of safe distance? Asked the Zephyrian. Based on previous incidents, I would suggest 50,000 kilometers. That should be far enough to avoid any immediate danger, but close enough to observe and learn. The council members began talking among themselves in dozens of different languages. Marcus could hear excitement in their voices. They were scared, but they were also curious. When humans said those 3 words, amazing things happened. Chairman, Thex called for order. Dr. Rodriguez, we will follow your recommendations. All ships and personnel will move to a safe distance and observe. Do you have any other advice? Marcus smiled. Yes. Have your best scientists ready to take notes. When humans say, hold my beer, the universe is about to become a more interesting place. Captain Steve Williams was having the best morning he had experienced in months. His ship, the Earth Defense Vessel Ranger, was floating peacefully near Jupiter. The crew was relaxed, the coffee was good, and for once, nobody was shooting at them or asking them to prevent a galactic disaster. Steve was sitting in his captain's chair reading the morning reports and thinking about taking a short vacation. He had been in space for 8 months without a break. Maybe it was time to visit his sister on Mars or spend a week fishing in the lakes of Europa. His peaceful morning ended when his communication officer, Lieutenant Karen Roberts, turned around with a look of panic on her face. Captain, we are receiving emergency orders from Earth Command, Priority Alpha level. Steve put down his coffee cup. Priority Alpha meant that something very serious was happening somewhere in the galaxy. He had only seen Priority Alpha orders 3 times in his 20-year career. Each time, thousands of lives had been at stake. What are the orders, Lieutenant? Karen looked at her screen again, as if she could not believe what she was reading. Sir, we are ordered to proceed immediately to the Kepler sector with maximum speed. We are to join a task force of 47 ships from Earth Defense Fleet and coordinate with vessels from 12 different alien species. Steve felt his stomach sink. A task force of 47 ships was enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Adding alien ships meant that whatever was happening was serious enough to scare species that had been spacefaring for thousands of years. Do we know what the emergency is? The orders just say Code Crimson Human Incident, sir. A human captain named Jake Morrison said the words. Steve did not need to ask which words. Every human military officer knew about those 3 words and what they meant. He had been trained to respond to hold my beer incidents as part of his basic officer education. How long until we reach the Kepler sector? At maximum speed. 6 hours, sir? Make it 4 hours and get me a full briefing on this Jake Morrison. While the Ranger rushed through space toward what might be the next great human disaster, other ships across the galaxy were doing the same thing. The Altarian Star Navy had sent 12 of their fastest cruisers. The Centauri Trade Federation had dispatched their entire emergency response fleet. Even the normally peaceful Zephyrians had sent 6 military vessels. On the mining ship New Texas, Jake Morrison was completely unaware that his simple plan to improve laser efficiency had triggered the largest military response in peacetime galactic history. He was standing in front of the mining laser control panel, humming an old song while he worked. Katie Walsh was still holding his beer and watching the sensor readings with growing alarm. Sir, I am reading massive energy signatures approaching our position. It looks like military ships. Jake looked up from his work. Military ships? That is strange. We are just mining asteroids. Why would the military be interested in asteroid mining? I do not know, sir, but there are a lot of them. My sensors show 43 ships so far, and more are arriving every few minutes. Jake shrugged and went back to his work. Maybe they are having military exercises nearby. It does not concern us. How are those frequency calculations coming along? Katie looked at her computer screen. The numbers Jake had programmed into the laser were unlike anything she had ever seen. The frequency patterns looked more like music than mining equipment settings. Sir, these calculations are very unusual. Are you sure they will work? I am not sure about anything, Katie, but I have a feeling they will do something interesting. 50,000 kilometers away, the Zephyrian mining foreman Cleth 7 was watching his sensors with all four of his eyes. The human ship was still, sitting quietly near the asteroid field, but the energy readings coming from it were growing stronger every minute. Attention all Zephyrian mining vessels, Cleth 7 broadcast to his fleet. The human ship is showing increased energy output. All personnel maintain minimum safe distance and prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. His second in command, a younger Zephyrian named Vex 2, looked nervous. Foreman, what do you think the humans are planning to do? I do not know, but I have been mining asteroids for 30 years. I have never seen energy readings like these. The humans are either going to create something wonderful or destroy everything within 10 light years. Which do you think it will be? Cleth 7 had worked near humans before. He had seen them solve impossible problems and create amazing technologies. He had also seen them accidentally blow up 3 asteroids while trying to make a cup of coffee. With humans, it is usually both. Captain Williams arrived at the Kepler sector 4 hours later, exactly as he had ordered. What he found there was the strangest military gathering he had ever seen. Ships from a dozen different species were arranged in a careful formation around a single human mining vessel. Everyone was keeping their distance, but nobody looked ready to fight. Williams opened a communication channel to the fleet commander, Admiral Lisa Chen, who had arrived an hour earlier on the heavy cruiser Constitution. Admiral, this is Captain Williams reporting for duty. What is our mission status? Admiral Chen appeared on his screen looking tired and slightly amused. Captain, we are here to observe and possibly contain a hold my beer incident. The human, Captain Jake Morrison, is modifying his mining laser in ways that our scientists cannot understand. Is he creating a weapon? We do not think so. Our analysis suggests he is trying to improve mining efficiency, but his modifications are so unusual that we cannot predict what will happen when he turns the laser on. Williams looked at his sensor readings. The energy output from the mining ship was enormous, but it was not the type of energy signature you would expect from a weapon. It looked more like a musical instrument than a laser. Admiral, has anyone tried talking to Captain Morrison? We have been trying to contact him for 2 hours. He responds to our calls, but he does not seem to understand why we are all here. He keeps asking if we want to watch him test his new mining technique. What did you tell him? I told him we would be very interested to see his new technique. I did not mention that we brought enough firepower to evacuate 3 star systems, if his technique goes wrong. While the 2 admirals talked, Jake Morrison was putting the finishing touches on his laser modifications. He had been working for 6 hours straight, and he was excited to see if his ideas would work. The frequency patterns he had programmed into the laser were based on half-remembered songs from his childhood, and the sound his grandmother's pie timer used to make. Katie, I think we are ready for the first test, Jake announced. Katie was still holding his beer, and her hands were shaking slightly. She had been watching the military ships arrive all day. She knew that dozens of civilizations were watching them, waiting to see what would happen next. Sir, maybe we should run some computer simulations first, or test the laser on a small asteroid, or wait until all these military ships go away. Jake looked out the window at the assembled fleet. Why would they go away? This is going to be the most efficient asteroid mining demonstration in galactic history. They probably want to learn our new technique. Sir, I do not think they are here to learn mining techniques. Then why are they here? Katie realized she could not explain the situation without explaining about the 3 words and humanity's reputation for controlled chaos. Jake had never heard of the hold my beer phenomenon because he was usually the one causing it. Sir, I think they are here because they care about our safety. Jake smiled. That is very nice of them. Well, let us give them a good show. Initiate laser sequence. Commander Rachel Martinez was having the strangest day of her career. As the head of Galactic Monitoring Station Alpha 7, she had seen many unusual things in space. She had tracked alien invasions, monitored dangerous space storms, and watched civilizations rise and fall. But she had never seen anything like what was happening in the Kepler sector. Rachel was sitting in her monitoring station, watching the sensor readings from Jake Morrison's mining ship. The numbers on her screen made no sense according to everything she knew about physics and engineering. The human captain had modified his mining laser in ways that should have been impossible. "Commander," called her science officer, a Centauri named Zex Prime, "I am reading quantum fluctuations from the human ship that match no known technology. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases." Rachel looked at the readings more carefully. She had been studying the data for 3 hours, trying to understand what Jake Morrison was actually doing. The more she studied it, the more amazed she became. "Zex Prime, I do not think Captain Morrison is trying to blow anything up." "What do you mean, Commander?" "Look at these frequency calculations. He is not building a weapon. He is solving one of the most difficult problems in quantum physics." Rachel pressed several buttons on her console and brought up a 3-dimensional image of the asteroid field. The image showed the molecular structure of the asteroids and the energy patterns that Jake's laser was designed to create. "He is trying to create quantum resonance in crystalline matrices," Rachel explained. "This technique could revolutionize mining operations across the entire galaxy." Zex Prime looked at the display with his large alien eyes. His species had been studying quantum physics for over 1,000 years, but they had never seen calculations like these. "Commander, how did he derive these mathematical formulas? They are incredibly complex." Rachel checked Jake's personal logs, which were automatically transmitted to the monitoring station for safety reasons. What she read made her laugh out loud. According to his log entries, he says he had a feeling about the frequency patterns. He writes that the specific harmonic resonance reminded him of his grandmother's pie timer. His grandmother's pie timer? Apparently, the sound it made when her pies were ready had the same frequency as the quantum resonance needed to break down asteroid minerals at the molecular level. Zex Prime was quiet for a long moment. His species prided themselves on their scientific knowledge, but a human had just solved a problem they had been working on for centuries by remembering the sound of a kitchen appliance. "Commander, should we inform the fleet?" Rachel opened a communication channel to Admiral Chen's flagship. Within seconds, the Admiral's face appeared on her screen, looking worried and tired. "Commander Martinez, what is your analysis of the situation?" "Admiral, I believe Captain Morrison is about to demonstrate the most advanced mining technique ever developed. His modifications to the laser should allow him to extract minerals from asteroids with unprecedented efficiency and precision." Admiral Chen looked surprised. "Are you saying he is not about to accidentally destroy the solar system?" "No, Admiral. Based on my analysis, he is about to solve a fundamental problem that has limited mining operations for thousands of years. The quantum resonance patterns he has programmed into his laser should allow him to separate different types of minerals without damaging the surrounding rock." On the bridge of the Constitution, Admiral Chen felt a familiar mixture of relief and amazement. This was exactly what happened every time humans said those 3 words. What looked like impending disaster turned out to be incredible innovation. "Commander Martinez, are you certain about this analysis?" "As certain as I can be, Admiral. The mathematics are elegant and the physics are sound. I believe Captain Morrison has accidentally invented the future of space mining." Meanwhile, on the mining ship New Texas, Jake Morrison was completely unaware that he had just been declared a genius by the galaxy's leading experts in quantum physics. He was focused on his control panel, making final adjustments to his laser settings. "Katie, are you ready for the test?" Jake asked. Katie Walsh was still holding Jake's beer and trying not to panic. She had been watching the sensor readings all day. Every alien ship in the area had their weapons powered down, but their sensors were running at maximum power. Everyone was watching them. "Sir, maybe we should start with a very small test, just to see what happens." Jake looked at the asteroid field through the ship's main window. The Zephyrian miners had been working on the same group of asteroids for 2 years, slowly cutting them apart with traditional methods. Jake's new technique should be able to process the entire field in a few hours. Katie, if we are going to test this, we should test it properly. I want to see if the resonance patterns work on the large asteroids. Jake pressed a series of buttons on the control panel. The mining laser began to power up, but instead of the usual harsh white light, it began to glow with colors that had never been seen before. The light seemed to shift and change, creating patterns that were both beautiful and strange. 50,000 kilometers away, every sensor in the combined fleet registered the energy output from Jake's laser. The readings were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The laser was not just producing light and heat, it was creating what appeared to be music made of pure energy. Captain Williams watched his sensor display with amazement. "Admiral, are you seeing this? The laser is producing harmonic frequencies across 17 different dimensional layers." "I see it, Captain." "Commander Martinez, what is happening?" Rachel Martinez was studying her readings with excitement. "Admiral, Captain Morrison has created a quantum harmonic laser. The energy patterns are creating resonance in the asteroid's molecular structure. He is not cutting the rock. He is asking it to separate itself." Jake aimed his laser at the largest asteroid in the field. The alien miners had been working on this asteroid for 6 months, carefully cutting away small pieces of valuable metal. Jake's laser touched the asteroid's surface and something magical happened. The asteroid began to sing. The quantum resonance created by Jake's laser caused the different minerals in the asteroid to vibrate at different frequencies. The iron sang in low, deep tones. The gold sang in bright, high notes. The rare earth elements created harmonies that sounded like an orchestra playing in space. But the asteroid did more than sing. As the different minerals vibrated at their natural frequencies, they began to separate from each other. The iron floated to one side, the gold to another, and the rare elements arranged themselves in neat, organized groups. In less than 10 minutes, Jake's laser had completely processed an asteroid that would have taken traditional methods 6 months to mine. The valuable minerals were separated and ready for collection. Nothing was wasted, nothing was destroyed, and the entire process had created the most beautiful music anyone had ever heard. The combined fleet watched in silence as Jake's laser moved to the next asteroid. The same process happened again. The asteroid sang its mineral song and separated itself into organized groups of valuable materials. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel to Jake's ship. "Captain Morrison, this is Admiral Chen. We have been observing your mining technique." Jake's cheerful voice came back over the communication system. "Hello, Admiral. Pretty neat, right? I think I can process this entire asteroid field in about 4 hours. The frequency patterns work even better than I hoped. Captain, do you realize what you have accomplished? I made mining more efficient? I thought that was obvious." Admiral Chen looked around her bridge. Her crew was staring at the display screens with wonder. The human captain had just revolutionized an entire industry and he thought it was obvious. "Captain Morrison, I believe you have created something that will change mining operations across the galaxy." "Really? That is great. Do you want to watch the rest of the demonstration? The next asteroid should produce some really interesting harmonics." 6 months later, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez was sitting in his office on Nexus Prime, writing what would become the most important research paper of his career. The title was simple: Human Innovation Patterns and the Predictive Value of Beverage-Related Statements. The paper would change how the entire galaxy thought about human behavior. Marcus had spent the months since the Jake Morrison incident studying every recorded case of humans saying those 3 words. What he discovered surprised even him. In every single case, the human had created something that benefited the entire galaxy. The pattern was so consistent that it could not be coincidence. The Galactic Council had asked Marcus to present his findings at their quarterly meeting. As he walked into the great chamber, he could see representatives from over 60 different species waiting to hear what he had learned. "Distinguished council members," Marcus began, "I have completed my analysis of the Morrison incident and all previous Hold My Beer events. My recommendation is that we completely change how we respond to these situations." Chairman Thex leaned forward with interest. The Rigelian leader had been thinking about the same problem for months. What do you propose, Dr. Rodriguez? Instead of treating these incidents as emergencies, we should treat them as opportunities. Every time a human says those 3 words, they are about to solve a problem that has been bothering someone for years or even centuries. Marcus activated his presentation screen. The display showed a timeline of human innovations, starting with Danny Murphy's accidental wormhole and ending with Jake Morrison's quantum mining technique. The wormhole that Danny Murphy created has generated over 40 billion credits in trade revenue between our galaxy and Andromeda. Casey Johnson's asteroid rodeo techniques are now used by every mining company in known space. Amy Peterson's quantum cookies led to breakthroughs in 17 different scientific fields. A Zephyrian representative raised her hand. Dr. Rodriguez, what about the costs? These incidents often cause expensive damage. The cleanup costs have totaled approximately 12 billion credits over the past 50 years. The economic benefits from human innovations have exceeded 800 billion credits in the same period. The return on investment is enormous. 3. Council chamber buzzed with conversation in dozens of different languages. The numbers were impressive, but many council members were still worried about the unpredictable nature of human innovation. What exactly are you proposing? Asked the Centauri trade representative. I propose that we establish the Morrison Protocol. Instead of sending emergency fleets every time humans say those 3 words, we should send our best scientists to observe and learn. We should also establish a rapid response fund to help humans develop their innovations safely. Chairman Thex considered this proposal carefully. Dr. Rodriguez, how can we be certain that future incidents will follow the same pattern? We cannot be completely certain, but the pattern has held for 50 years across 47 different incidents. The probability that the next incident will be beneficial is over 90%. 3 months later, the Morrison Protocol was officially adopted by the Galactic Council. The new system worked very differently from the old emergency response. When the phrase, "hold my beer," was detected from any human source, the galaxy would dispatch teams of scientists instead of military fleets. The first test of the new protocol came sooner than anyone expected. A human engineer named Pete Davis was working on a space station in the Vega system. The station's artificial gravity was malfunctioning, causing serious problems for the residents. Pete looked at the gravity generator and said to his assistant, "This should be easy to fix. Hold my beer." Instead of triggering emergency evacuations, Pete's words activated the new Morrison Protocol. Within 6 hours, the galaxy's leading experts on gravity manipulation were traveling to the Vega system. They arrived just in time to watch Pete solve the problem by connecting the gravity generator to the station's music system. The result was not just functional artificial gravity, but gravity that could be adjusted to create different effects in different areas of the station. The residents could now experience Earth-normal gravity in their homes, low gravity in the recreational areas, and zero gravity in the sports complex. Pete had accidentally created the first entertainment-based gravity system in galactic history. Dr. Rodriguez was one of the scientists who observed Pete's innovation. He took careful notes and added the incident to his growing database of human problem-solving techniques. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison had become something of a celebrity in the mining industry. His quantum harmonic laser technique was being used on over 300 mining operations across the galaxy. The efficiency improvements were so dramatic that asteroid mining had become the most profitable industry in known space. Jake was completely confused by all the attention. He thought he had just made a simple improvement to standard mining equipment. He did not understand why mining companies were offering him millions of credits for his techniques. Katie Walsh had been promoted to Chief Innovation Officer for the Human Colonial Fleet. Her job was to identify other humans who might be working on potentially revolutionary ideas. She kept a database of every human who had ever said those 3 words, and she monitored their projects carefully. "Katie," Jake said one day as they were testing a new version of his mining laser, "why do all these alien scientists keep wanting to interview me? I just improved the laser efficiency." Katie smiled. She had learned a lot about human innovation patterns in the past few months. "Jake, you did not just improve efficiency. You created a completely new type of technology that works better than anything the galaxy has ever seen." "Really?" It seems pretty obvious to me. Why did nobody think of using harmonic resonance before? Because nobody else had a grandmother with the right kind of pie timer. Jake laughed. That does make sense. Grandma always did make the best pies. The Morrison Protocol proved to be one of the most successful policies in galactic history. Over the next 2 years, humans created 17 new technologies that revolutionized everything from space travel to food production. Each innovation started with the same 3 words and ended with the galaxy becoming a better place for everyone. The Galactic Emergency Alert System was completely redesigned. The old red warning lights were replaced with blue lights that meant exciting opportunity ahead. The emergency evacuation procedures were replaced with scientific observation protocols. Children across the galaxy learned about the Morrison Protocol in school. They were taught that when humans said those 3 words, it meant something wonderful was about to happen. The phrase, "hold my beer," became associated with hope and progress instead of fear and chaos. Admiral Lisa Chen established the Human Innovation Support Division within the Earth Defense Fleet. The division's job was to provide resources and protection for humans who were working on potentially dangerous but beneficial projects. The motto of the division was simple: enabling safe chaos. Since 2395, Dr. Rodriguez published his research paper and won the Galactic Science Prize for his work on human behavioral patterns. The paper became required reading for anyone who worked with humans in any capacity. The Galactic Insurance Consortium created a new type of policy called Human Innovation Insurance. Instead of voiding policies when humans said those 3 words, the insurance companies now offered bonuses to cover the costs of documenting and developing human innovations. Jake Morrison continued to work as a mining ship captain, completely unaware that he had started a revolution in how the galaxy thought about human creativity. He kept improving his mining techniques, guided by half-remembered songs and the wisdom of his grandmother's kitchen equipment. Katie Walsh kept Jake's beer in a special refrigerated container on the ship's bridge. She had learned that the quality of the beer was somehow connected to the quality of Jake's innovations. She was not sure why this was true, but she was not willing to take any chances. The galaxy had learned to love humanity's unique approach to problem-solving. The phrase, "hold my beer," was no longer a warning of impending disaster. It was a promise that the universe was about to become a more interesting and wonderful place. As Dr. Rodriguez wrote in the conclusion of his famous paper, humans possess an extraordinary ability to stumble backward into genius while believing they are simply fixing obvious problems. The galaxy is infinitely better for their presence, even if we all need better antacids. The universe had discovered that when humans say, "hold my beer," miracles are about to happen.